We'll call the Greater Leesburg Community Redevelopment Agency agenda to order. This is Monday, April the 10th. It is 5:01. Would you please stand for the invocation? Heavenly Father, we ask that you would look over this body tonight. Help us to make good decisions for the city of Leesburg. We ask this in your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I hope everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens-Coney?
Yes.
Commissioner Monell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Chairperson Berry?
Yes. Okay, moving on now, we're going to consider the potential capital improvement projects in the Greater Leesburg CRA area. Hand it over to Al.
Okay, so at the last meeting, which would March 27, right? If I got my dates right, we had a quick CRA meeting on a sign grant. I think for it was for the church, and at that meeting, Commissioner Stevens Coney asked. Presented some projects. We were running out of time at that meeting. What she wanted to discuss some projects, we're running out of time. And there was the mention of, we'll workshop this at this meeting and get with Al to put together your concepts. I think there's been some misconception about what the workshop issue, but the workshop was this workshop. And I believe the minutes just say meeting, that there was going to be a meeting. So I think that my recollection of was that Al and Betty were going to get together and put together this presentation and bring these specific concepts back to the board to consider. So with that, I put together a quick presentation. So after the meeting, I got with Commissioner Betty Stevens-Coney, and we came up, well, her concepts that she wanted to share with the board were these. And a kind of threefold thing. And I'm going to go from first, the easy one was a proclamation from the body to the Marriott. There was a specific person that we had in mind to recognize as a gap. But the Marriott has been very successful doing some diversity training and some different things with a program called Bridging the Gap. So Betty was asking if we could make a proclamation of that and issue it. Which I don't think the body would have an issue with. The second thing on the consideration palette is some historic markers. The historic markers would be located at specific spots to recognize African American contributions in Leesburg and some African American history in Leesburg. So first are specifically two churches located in District 1 in the Pine Street area in the Pine Street in the downtown CRA. And those churches are 302 Church Street, which is St. Stephen's, which is the arrow obviously on the far right, just for a reference point. And then Mount Olive Baptist over there, kind of closer to Canal Street on the west of the map, or to everybody's left. The second one is another historic site marker that would go on the old Dabney site to recognize the historic significance of the Dabney School being the first formal school for African Americans in Leesburg. And the churches are you telling me to speed up or slow down?
No, I'm making a correction. The first was Lake County Training.
Lake County Training, okay. And then, and the churches are significant because the first church is first schoolhouse, so those functioned as a schoolhouse and a church. The other concepts were pavilion locations, potential locations. One would be at Mike and Main, which is the first yellow polygon or pentagon on the left, and then what we call Washington and Indiana, which also would be the Dabney location. If you flip the screen, just so those are the concepts. So what would the concepts look like? The standard historical marker, not just like a plaque, but the concept would be to put a standard Florida historical marker sign up. So they're about 42 inches wide by 30 inches high is the plaque, and then they're on a post. So that's kind of the historic look, the standard. That's kind of the nameplate on what the shape, size looks like. And then the right, I thought one was a little bit better because that shows you a little bit how big they are in reference to people and what they would look like next to the facilities. The two churches, Mount Olive Progressive Baptist on 407 Child Street, obviously there's a picture there, and then St. Stephen's AME on 302 Church location, a picture of the church there. And then the pavilion would look something like that. I think that's where Betty wanted to head. Did I guess that right?
That's correct. However, the audience does have a picture of a different pavilion in their hands. Something a little larger because we were anticipating, if you will remember, that there would be game tables in there.
Gotcha.
And go on from there.
I don't have a...
If you would look at the pass out that I provided for you.
I got it. I got it right here. So with that was kind of the staff presentation we had for you, and turn it over back to the board.
Okay. Okay,
would you
thank
like
you.
to lead the discussion?
Yes. My remarks to this board usually start with, Leesburg is my home. I'm proud of Leesburg, and I'm proud of the progress that we have made, and I'm proud of who we are today, and I'm even prouder of when I think of the things that can be done and we are working to be done. Question, please. Did you know that there is a book written about us in heaven? Yep, there is. And in this playbook, all of our assignments are posted there. Our assignment for this moment in time is for the furtherance of knowledge about His love and power through our history, showing the steadfastness then of those who came before us. You see, everybody can participate in this, and we can get a check mark by our names if you're interested in heaven, and that's what we're doing. So, for the past 50 years, plus some, I have been working on assignments in and for my community. It is what a servant of the people does. Now, about this assignment, the conceptual framework for this project is through the vision of Dr. Carter G. Woodson, historian, author, educator, philosopher. He stated way back in 1926, when an individual, a group, a race, or a culture of people fail to teach or learn his or her history, over time, that individual, those people, that group, that race or culture shall be rendered nameless and faceless. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, we are at this place where we want to preserve our history. Therefore, we present, as Al has mentioned to you, these historic markers. Further, we are requesting a third marker, and he has mentioned this, for the designation of the first Black public school on the property that faces Washington Street. It was Lake County Training School first, then Dabney Elementary School. Now, this is the part here that is so endearing to me and to all of us, I believe. And it is not in the printed paper that you have received, because it was just given to me a couple of hours ago, and that is this. Next to the historical marker designating the place of Lake County Training School, and we would love for it to be on the place where the Lake County Training School was. And next to that, we would like for the pavilion to be there. And this is the part that, as preachers would say, I feel my help coming on. This is the part that I think will grab your hearts. We would like for that pavilion to be called by the name of a precious, caring, determined woman whose name was Catherine Minity. We'd like for it to be called the Catherine Minity Pavilion. Now here's what. Because it would be symbolic, it would be reminiscent of Catherine Minity gathering her people together back in the early 1900s in order to organize to sell potato pies and bags of peanuts to raise money for the first black public school. Now, Catherine said, I'm tired. I am sick and tired of my boys and girls being nomads, meaning they were going for a whole 45-year period. They were going from pillow to post. In other words, from church to church, and they had no permanent schoolhouse. So Catherine said, listen, we've got to do better than this for our boys and our girls. Catherine then went to the school board, the Lake County School Board in Tavares, and she appeared before them and she said, Mr. Chairman, I'm Catherine Minity, and I come to you today representing my black boys and girls. Now, Mr. Chairman, we don't have a lot of money, but we've been selling bags of peanuts for a nickel and potato pies for a dime. And today, Mr. Chairman, I have that money with me, and I want to turn that money over to you. I give to you $110 for the school. Mr. Chairman, do you hear me? Mr. Chairman, do you hear me? I'm here for the boys and girls. And you know what happened? By that stand taken by Catherine Minity on March 10th, 1921, the school board agreed with her. Let's give Catherine Minity a big round of applause. And ladies and gentlemen, by 1922, the Lake County Training School was erected, was built for the black boys and girls of the neighborhood. And it is in whose name we feel it is proper to name that pavilion in honor of the work of those people, our inheritance, our foreparents. And that is it on that course. Catherine Minity. Now, we are respectfully asking that our efficient city manager, Al Minner, negotiates with Tony Binge of Binge Development Corporation to seek a historic compromise or gift in kind that results in the public recognition through a humanitarian gift for the historic preservation. This would be the property on Washington Street, exactly in the place where the first black public school was, known as Lake County Training School. And if we're not able to work out a deal there, that we respectfully, prayerfully ask the city of Leesburg to then purchase land where we might still have the remembrance and the historical preservation of where the Lake County Training School was. We believe that this is not too much to ask. Also, we are asking that the pavilion not only service the greater Leesburg community, the greater Leesburg CRA community, but this will be a place where all people can come because it will be so attractive, and it will be in the vicinity where we can have the spillover for the thousands of people that will be coming in for the swim meets and the tournaments on Pine Street. Would be a spillover for that. So we see any number of things that the pavilion can be used for. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case for right now. Thank you.
Any other comments? Anyone?
Have all the churches agreed for the monuments and plaques?
We do have pastors here representing Mount Olive. I see Reverend Dr. King. Sir, will you stand? And I see Reverend Woodrow Leaks, one of my schoolmates, and this is his son. We are so proud of him. This is the pastor of St. Stephen African Methodist Episcopal Church, the church I grew up in. Gentlemen, please feel free to take, and we have our illustrious pastor of Mount Harriet Metropolitan Baptist Church.
Yes.
Yeah, don't sit down, sir. Y'all got to talk.
Well,
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Will public comment be limited only to the pastors?
Not at all, sir. You will get your chance. We'll be happy to hear from you.
Yeah, hold on a second. Before we move to the audience, I wanted to
I'm
make sure
sorry.
there were any comments from
Okay,
the
sure.
commission.
Sure.
I just have a question, please. As far as the pavilion, can you tell me what type of pavilion it will be, what it'll be used for? Would it be for serenity, for entertainment, for games only? Or can you give us more information?
Of course, I'd be happy to. The pavilion can be used for any number of activities. When we think of what Catherine Minity did and bringing her people together, at designated times, there may be civic groups that would like to meet under the pavilion at a designated time. We would also leave it open for, how do I say? I have the names of 50 people here. Mr. Davis has been so kind to collect these names from the guys on Mike and Pine. We're taking their space, well, not their space, but we are providing another place for them to meet, which would be there. And I have the names here. There was some question about whether or not these guys would go to the place where we would have the pavilion. So I'd gone by and I'd made the survey and asking them personally. They said yes, but I wanted more than that, and we have the names here of more than 50 people who said that they will frequent it. In answer to your question, Commissioner Berry, I think that it is open up for a number of wholesome activities, games, as well as people from the hospital or anyone who would just like to come and use that beautiful surrounding to have lunch. Family reunions, exactly. Yes, birthday parties or anything of that nature. So we can be very creative with that. The thing is to get it there. And when we think about it's the Catherine Minity Pavilion, I get chills. I guess I'm just that romantic, though.
That was my only question.
Yeah. Any other comments?
I have a couple questions.
Commissioner Berry, did I?
Al, what's the estimated cost on the signs?
Commissioner, I don't know. My guess would be that they're not crazy expensive. $1,500, $2,000 each would be my guess.
And how about the pavilion?
Now, that was a little more complicated than I anticipated. I'm just looking at that. That looks like, to me, it's like about a 32 by 24. These look like about 8-foot spans long.
Man, which one we talking about? This one or this one?
Now, the one that I've included there is,
I mean, which pavilion are we referring to?
I thought we were headed down the Wood Road.
This one?
But I think Commissioner Stevens-Coney would like the grander pavilion.
And what's the size of that?
That's what I'm guessing. My guess is that, it looks like those are about 8-foot spans. So I'm going to guess
Something
that's
similar
32
to
by
that.
24 feet. I'm going to guess this is probably six-figure number. Easy.
Okay. And two pavilions?
High
Three
six.
pavilions?
The way I understand the commissioner is that it's one pavilion in the location of the Dabney school site. Hopefully, with asking the city manager to see if the Binge Corporation would donate a portion of the parcel. If the Binge Corporation wouldn't donate a portion of the parcel, then it would be, would the city consider purchasing the parcel? And if that would fail, then putting the location on Childs and Mike.
Because I see
Mike and Maine.
it shows locations, two different locations.
Right.
Yes.
Either of them.
Either or.
Okay, not both.
Right.
No.
Either or.
And, okay. And
It's contingent on us talking to Tony Bench.
Tony Benj on both those sides?
Right, so number 2, that's the Dabney location. Number 1 is the city location. And I believe the city owns the Main and Mike.
And how much
parcel.
property would we need to put that on there?
I don't,
Yeah, just a question on that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but on the second property here, weren't we involved with the CDC in transferring that property to them for specific reasons? It was,
Did we
it
get-
could be,
did we give that to,
Is John
I'm looking
back?
at John Christian in the back. We just looked.
Charles and Maine and Mike will be owned by Mr. Rufus Havens.
right.
That was up for sale.
Well, we just looked it up.
So-
It said city,
So, but it's
all
we were
split
done
up.
it to the CDC. So this location is not available. We've already designated that for, we specifically said, y'all help me remember, but it was for, it could only be for restaurants or for sales.
That's right. We just don't. Yes.
Yes, so that property in that area cannot happen.
Yeah, we had a big debate on residential versus commercial use.
Correct.
We agreed on commercial
And
use.
it was commercial fronting that. So that leaves this one other property that we don't own. Everybody understands that.
You mean the one on Washington?
The old training school site.
Right, yes, yes.
The city does not own
Right,
that.
we understand. Yeah, that's
the
why.
same company that, or most of the same people that built
Yeah,
the Marriott.
that's
across
why
the
we were
street.
mentioning to negotiate to see if we could have some kind of in-kind humanitarian because of historical preservation. And we don't see that as being too far out of line.
Mayor, I'm sorry. I forgot.
Yes, go
May I
ahead,
add one more thing? I'm Ms. Coney. I would like to say, excuse me, for District 1, speaking from the commissioner, I failed to tell you that I think this is a wonderful idea for treating and tracing our heritage and our history and marking it appropriately. And I just wanted to put that in before I asked my questions about what type of a pavilion it was going to. So just let you know that I'm all in far as marking our historic areas with markers for the churches. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
And do we know how much property would be needed to get from Mr. Benj to put this pavilion on it?
I would guess an acre.
How big is that site?
5 to,
And you think
I can
he's
tell you,
made that?
No.
Do you think he would
Sell it. Yes.
at a reduced price because of historical preservation?
I don't think Mr. Benj would do that.
Is Mr. Benj connected with the Marriott?
No.
No.
Yeah,
A former partner of his was.
Yeah, it's not the
But
same guy.
I don't believe it was. I think Mr. Binge might have been a partnership when that started, but I don't think as that project finished, it was the Binge Group.
yeah, Mr. Binge paid a lot of money for that property. I forget the exact number, but
It was $725,000.
okay. I know the property well. We looked at it with Boys and Girls Club. I don't want to speak to Mr. Binge, but I don't think we should get too bogged down on it until we get his consent on it. And when I read that we want to put it on the site of the former school, I don't see Mr. Binge giving up an acre of land. And if he does, it's going to be very expensive. I'm not.
I would not like for us to give up until we give it a good
I'm not saying give up. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll conclude with I'm fine with the markers and the monuments. I'm fine with approving that tonight. I would like to slow down on the other till I think we should talk with Mr. Binge first, which I think I know what his answer is going to be, and probably have to look for alternative sites.
And sorry, the last part.
And then secondly, we'll probably be looking at alternative sites. And that'll give us more time to maybe get cost numbers and look at it. I don't see us voting on the pavilion tonight, though.
But may I ask if we have a consent on the concept of the Catherine Minity Pavilion, looking at if we can't get it on this site, another site?
I guess I would like to hear from the community on that before. I give an
Okay,
opinion
very
on that.
good.
So I'll go ahead and say on the record I'm okay with the markers and the monument signs. I do want to slow down on the pavilion.
May
But
I?
go ahead.
May I add one more thing? May we bring the community in to have a charrette and then discuss
We are.
further?
Are we ready to hear from the community now, sir?
That was the question I asked.
Yeah. So we'll have, please limit it to 3 minutes. We do have another meeting after this, so.
All right, thank you. I'm Pastor Darrell Reeves of Mount Airy Metropolitan, and Mrs. Coney, I get to turn the favor. Last time I was here, you were highly in support of Mount Airy, and I want you to know that we are highly in support of what you're initiating. I think it's fantastic. I think it's long overdue, and we thank you for your leadership in leading us in this direction. We support Mount Olive, and we support St. Stephen's, and we support your idea of a pavilion. And honestly, I think it should be more than a pavilion. It should be an in-house building with air conditioning, everything. Everything. And we truly deserve it. But thank you for your leadership, and we are fully supportive of what you're doing, attempting to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Cheryl Gibson Connor, 905 Georgia Avenue. I'm here going to represent a couple of people, so we're going to knock out some time for you. I happen to be a member of the Mount Olive Progressive Baptist Church. I also have our pastor, which is Reverend Kenneth King. We also have one of our trustees here from the church, and then for St. Stephen's, we have the pastor. There he is, with leaks behind me, as well as members from his congregation. And our statement is that we're in total support of the recommendation that our commissioner has made, Coney Stevens has made for the markers. We're in total support. We think that nothing better could be made as far as recognizing our legacy and our ancestors and the things that they have done here in the Leesburg area. So we both have letters that we'd like to submit to you, and also for our recommendation, and also recommending her recommendation as well.
Amen. You have the letter?
You can give them to the clerk.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
Good afternoon. My name is Charles Wright, and by way of full disclosure, I am Commissioner Berry's uncle by marriage. I want to put that on the table before I go any further. And I also want to put on the table, I have worked in county and city government planning over the last 40 years. And that brings up the fact that Carter G. Woodson, the one you spoke about, Mrs. Coney, pointed out if we're going to deal with history, it must meet certain criteria. And the basic criteria, it must have a sense of space, time, and purpose. And I want to ask the question, has it been considered, and if not, will you consider making the area considered the East Side right now into a Black historic district? I've heard about Pine Street being a historic street. I've heard about the corridor, but if you look back on what happened with the school, and it's nice to talk about 1933 and the school there, but I would rather us go back and look at 1876, when S.A. Williams, the pastor at St. Stephen AME Church, started the first school. It's good to talk about the school board, but it's even better to talk about what we did. Now, let me point out one thing. For instance, you can have a plaque for a Black school, and that's good because it tells you what happened, but it does not tell you who was making it happen. Who was making that happen back then was St. Stephen's, Mount Olive, and the rest of the Black churches. What they were doing was done by individuals. And unless at some point we give recognition to those forefathers of this Black community, then we're doing a disservice to all of them. If you are a Dabney, if you are a Williams, if you are a Johnson, you have to feel bad for the school board to get credit, and no credit goes to those pioneers. And then when we talk about sense of space and time, when is the time that we begin to count historic? Is it 1933 or is it prior to 1800? That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
In reference to, if you will look at your handout, you will see on this historic site, just in mentioning, we do mention the first Black school, the first school for Black students in 1876. And then the next is the second Black school in about 1882, which was on the campus of the present Mount Olive Progressive Baptist Church. Thank you so much, Mr. Wright. We certainly appreciate your collection of experiences and sharing with us, and we look forward to working with you in these regards.
Good evening. My name is Rosetta Pritchard Givens. I was born and raised right here in Leesburg almost 85 years ago, so I've seen it grow. And Lake County Training School was my school. We walked from, my daddy built a house behind Minute Maid. We walked from there to Lake County Training School every day. We were not allowed to miss a day out of school. And that's my heart. And it was 3 of us girls and all the people that lived on that side of town. We walked to school and we enjoyed Lake County Training School. However, we outgrew it. And that's when it became, we got a new school called Carver Heights High, and then it was turned into Dabney Elementary. But I just want you to know that there were many fond memories here. My daddy had us 3 girls, and we were called the Pritchard Sisters. We sang at all the big national gospel concerts that came in. We let them in first. The 3 of us, we were like stair steps. My daddy played the piano for us. And we were also sang, we had Joe Louis to come to that campus. I know a lot of folks don't know who Joe Louis is. He came to that campus. We had called the Wings Over Jordan Choir, came to that campus. We had Jackie Robinson stopped by that campus. And you know, it's part of your life. And I just want you all to know that we would be so happy if you could just give us just a little bit of our history. Let's leave it there for our children to see and to enjoy. I think the pavilion would be beautiful if you can do it. And we could do, if you could do more, we'd appreciate that. You know, this is Leesburg. This is our home. This is where we were born and raised, and we are proud of it. And we want people, as they come in, to be as proud as we are. And let's show them that we are a united city of Leesburg. We aren't separated. We are together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think, Al, what I take from it, if everyone can kind of consent this, if we can get you to get with the developer of the piece of property, the Dabney Elementary property, see if they have interest in potentially selling us up to 1 acre of the property, and also then maybe get us some information on cost of a pavilion.
Absolutely.
Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add to that?
No, so we're gonna, if you will, table the pavilion and the purchase of the property, and we're just gonna have a vote tonight on the monument signs.
That'll be next, right? Okay. Yeah. I think before we can do anything with the pavilion, we got to find out what it's going to cost before we're making any arrangements for that.
So we're going to exclude the monument sign for the pavilion at this time.
What I'd like to talk about now, do I have a motion to do something about the historic markers? And I'll leave off the Lake County Training School monument, because if we can't get the property, there's nowhere to put the monument. So let's hold off on that.
So we're talking about 2 signs then?
We're talking about historic markers at Church Street and South Child.
Okay, so 2.
The two historic markers right now. If we have a motion for that, that's what I'm looking for.
May I get clarification, please? Are we saying then that if we cannot strike some kind of negotiation for the actual site where the Lake County Training School was, then may we amend what we're saying for another site so that we will not be outdone for the community for a pavilion, the Catherine Minity Pavilion? I don't want that dingling and people are wondering, then what about the pavilion?
Well, I don't think we can give you any guarantees on property we don't own and costs on a pavilion that we have no idea what they are. I can't say
I agree with that.
Yes to anything like that. We can explore that, and that's what we've asked Al to do, and bring that information back to us. It'll probably be budget. I mean,
Yeah, obviously I'm gonna be out the rest of this week, in and out. I'll be here Wednesday for the ribbon cutting on Pine Street. I need to get with Wharton Smith. Honestly, in all honesty, this was a little grander than we had discussed in my office. I thought you were going down a different avenue with pavilion. This makes sense, pavilion, I get it. And I think, and Commissioner Connell, you asked me earlier how much this is going to be. It's way over $100,000. Just honestly, like this picture, you've got the big pavilion. Look, that's 32 by 24.
That's a sample.
I got you. That's in this market, we're $250,000, $500,000 for something like that. Then next to it is that concession stand. So if you're just looking for the pavilion, I think you're $250,000. And if you throw on the concession stand, that's definitely another $500,000. We'll probably know that from the early bids that we got back. So this picture that's a pricey one, plus the property. So let me get with Benj, see where he's at, and I'll report back to y'all.
okay.
And are we gonna, since we're just gonna vote on the signs tonight, are we gonna put a cap amount that we're going to spend up to for the 2 signs?
That would be in the motion if you so desire. We don't have a motion yet, so it's hard to talk about it.
Well, I think it should be in the motion.
Okay.
We're bringing some options next meeting.
What is that?
We're bringing some options next meeting with costs.
And just not even vote at all on it. I mean, sure.
chairman is looking for direction from.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign at 302 Church Street and 407 South Child. I'll put a not to exceed 10,000 on it for both of them. It should
both
be
signs?
for both of them. No, 10 total.
Right, both.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 total.
I'm
$5
trying to
grand
build a number
sign.
in that'll make it work.
That's probably about right. That's
So 5,000 apiece? I thought we just talked about 1,500.
Commissioner. I don't know. I'm thinking
Sure.
1,500 to 2,500 grand a sign.
mean,
but it's 10 grand.
Is this picture in here is accurate of what we're talking about, with just on a pole with a plaque on it?
Yeah.
So this isn't accurate. We're not talking about an actually monument sign where it's going to have a foundation, block.
I'll change my motion to
Lights.
7,500 if that'll help.
So, I mean, this looks like more of a street pole with a sign on it. So we're talking about this? We're talking about a full monument sign?
You're talking about that, Commissioner. At what cost, I don't know. But
I just want to be clear on what type of sign we're approving. To me, this is a monument sign. This is a pole sign.
The pole sign.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion for the Church Street and the South Child for sign monuments, signs.
Not to exceed 7,500 for both of them.
As a total.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Any other discussion?
Pole sign or monument signs?
Pole sign.
Pole sign.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Up to, well,
Up to 7,500.
Okay.
For both.
I got
It's
you.
not 75 each.
Sure.
Commissioner Stevens Coney,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Berry,
Yes.
Chairperson Berry.
Yes. Okay, where are we now? Move on to roll call, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll move on to roll call.
Let's see. Commissioner Berry, sorry.
Barry, whoever she is.
Berry, yeah, I'm sorry. You have anything for roll call?
No, I don't. I'm good.
Commissioner Peterson,
This is if you have something additional.
Commissioner Reisman,
Nothing this evening.
Commissioner Connell,
Nothing.
Commissioner Stevens Coney.
Yes, I have one thing in talking to my constituency of the Greater Leesburg CRA community. It was brought to my attention, and I promised many of the guys on this list of about 50 names that they feel somewhat left out, and I'll phrase it in nice terms. At the Johnson Park, they feel that many times they may be arrested by the police because they do not have a place to take care of their personal needs, because the facility there appears and smells like it has not been changed out for a couple of years. So they're requesting that we take a serious look at that and either bring in periodically new porta potties or build a bathroom. I promised them that I would mention it to the board.
We can look at that.
Yeah, I think that's actually a reasonable request. A restroom at Johnson Park. The last restroom, so that. $250, $500,000 for a restroom that's similar to like what we put in Berry Park and Ski Beach and those type of things. I know you scoff, Commissioner, but that's the going number.
No. I actually thought we had a restroom there.
I did too.
I think we need a restroom there.
You mentioned it. There's porta potties.
But we've had some discussions on other projects of late at a high level that we were going to slow some projects down, let these construction costs come down. I mean, I can't spend $250,000 for a bathroom.
In all honesty, I mean, this is a little bit of a curveball. softball, but it just knee-jerk reaction, Commissioner. You threw this out. I'm reacting off the cuff. I'm going to say I would put a restroom at Johnson Park ahead of a pavilion because that's something that the cities have done. We have strived to put restrooms in all our park facilities. So I'm going to say that the greater need for the community is a restroom at a park facility before a pavilion. That's actually, I think, going to be cheaper, and it's also something that I recommend that you put into the 24 fiscal year. So just keep that in mind. So I think those are things that as we get into the budget process in June, that those would be the pavilion and the restroom issue is something you definitely want to look at. Those are budget items that you want to get into the CIP. I think the signs are a little bit different. 10 grand, getting those up and done, that's not a financial impact. But the restroom and the pavilions are. And just for a CIP purpose and where we've been, I would definitely put the restroom ahead of the pavilion. Just staff opinion, off the cuff.
Just as a footnote also, speaking for my community there, of all of the seating places, recreational areas, pavilions in the entire Leesburg, when we look at the greater Leesburg CRA community, there are not any such recreational things in that part of the community. And I'm sure that's been a slight. And
I'm going to have to correct you and say we just built a $5.5 billion pool on Pine Street, so I guess I'm a little taken back by that comment.
We're talking about from the area from Lake Street on into that intra-community area. Oh, believe me, we are so proud of our pool and the location of it. I am talking intra-community there. There's no place for the people, the citizens to go, and if they want to have a cup of coffee or to play some games, that's it. And again, it is my pleasure to serve as the representative for the Greater Leesburg CRA community.
Chairperson Burry?
Nothing tonight. That's everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We're going to take about this meeting is adjourned. We're going to take about a 2-minute break, and then we'll have the commission meeting.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, you too.
everybody ready? All right, we'll call to order. This is City Commission meeting, Monday, April 10th. It is 5:56. We have already had an invocation and the pledge at a previous meeting. First tonight, we have a proclamation. It's National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and the preservation of property, and whereas the safety of our police officers is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Leesburg Emergency Services Communications Center, and whereas the public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas the public safety telecommunicators are the vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators of the Leesburg Police Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals and treatment of patients. And whereas each telecommunicator has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now, therefore, I, James A. Burry, Jr., Mayor of the City of Leesburg, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 9th through the 15th, 2023, as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the City of Leesburg in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and our citizens safe. Thank you. Okay. We have no presentations tonight. Public comment, item 4. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future City Commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. If you have a comment, please give us your name and your address.
My name is Vic Donahue. I live at 122 North 7th Street, Leesburg. Well, I'm glad to see all of the empty storefronts downtown starting to fill up. It has created a slight problem for the residents of the townhouses directly across from City Hall, which is where I reside. And I'm curious to see if perhaps we could put signage there. There's 11 townhouses and 11 parking spaces directly opposite them. And I'm curious to see if we could maybe put a signs on those 11 parking spaces, perhaps a 2-hour parking limit. I mean, there is no parking with the restaurant and the medical facility opening up.
The 2-hour parking limit's not going to help your problem. It's going to hurt your problem, because then that means you can't park there for 2 hours. So a resident who lives there is not going to be able to park in front if you put a 2-hour limit there. So the complaint is more of a larger one, which is not enough parking downtown. So one of the global goals of the commission has been to create a mixed unit atmosphere downtown where you have commercial and residential together. With that issue becomes, who's parking there when. The apartments have driveways, some of them, but the street parking is commonly public parking, which is available to either a business owner, a patron, or a resident. So it's kind of it's a mixed use there. I wouldn't sign it. I wouldn't limit it. If there's an issue, then I think this body needs to talk about whether we do have a parking problem. So I would advise the commission to take the comments, and we deal with parking complaints on a ad nauseum basis, and we'll look into the matter. That's, I think, a reasonable answer from staff. Knee-jerk reaction.
I'll be bringing up something similar to that in my public comments.
Okay.
Or my comments.
Something we'll talk about, Vic. Is that fine?
Good. Thank you very much. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, we'll move on to item 5. That's the consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission or staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. Number 1, pull the item or items from the consent agenda. Number 2, vote on the remaining items with 1 roll call vote. Number 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Are there any items anyone would like to pull? I'm going to ask that we pull item 5C2. Any other? That's it? All right. Okay, so we'll have a roll call vote. We need a motion.
So, yeah, motion to approve remaining items on consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Berry,
Yes.
Mayor Burry.
Yes. Would someone please introduce for me item 5C2?
Introduced and asked to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, accepting an automatic aid agreement for fire protection and other emergency services between the City of Tavares and the City of Leesburg, and more particularly described in the document, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Yeah, the reason I asked for this to pull is not that I have any opposition to it. It's because it gives us an opportunity. I wanted Al just to let the public know what we're doing and how we are working in concert with our neighbors to make Lake County a better place. So if you just give us
I appreciate that, Mayor. There's a bunch of different things we do. Obviously, public safety is one of the general fund's primary purposes. In that, there's been lots of discussions with ISBA and what's the ISBA and interlocal. So this is an interlocal agreement with the City of Tavares, whereby we respond to each other's calls. It is a standard operating procedure. It doesn't happen often. About the 11,000 calls we do, probably about 100 calls are between Leesburg and Tavares when extra mutual aid is needed. Extra mutual aid could be Tavares is on a call, we have a problem in Leesburg, so they'll dispatch Tavares or to our call, or flip-flop. There's a problem in Tavares, they're doing calls, they're busy, we'll go get them, we'll go pick up their call. And we do that, that's a quid pro quo, and it comes out a balanced act. The biggest part of the interlocal as well is with structural fires. Sometimes when there's crazy big structural fires, you need more than just one organization responding to it. So you'll have interagency responses, and typically if there's a structure fire in Tavares, they're typically the first ones on the scene, but then Leesburg will come in and back up. And it'll be a Tavares event, and Tavares manages it, but we go in as backup to provide extra service to protect property. And then on the flip-flop, if we've got something crazy here, we typically will get outside assistance with Tavares. Now that's just on the Tavares side. The ISBA side is a little bit of a different engine because it's done on more of a routine basis, where there is a quid pro quo, and that was part of the inter-service boundary agreement, where there's a cash payment to each agency on the delta. For example, the county would do so many calls for us. We would do so many calls for the county. We subtract it and then pay the difference on what type of call it was. And we have these agreements not just with the county and Tavares, but they're pretty much throughout the county. Pretty sure we have agreements with Lady Lake. We had with Fruitland Park while they were with Fruitland Park, but now they're with the county. We have them with Tavares. We go Eustis, Joe. We don't go Eustis. And how how far south do we go? And Groveland. And Groveland in their ISBK actually comes up to the south side of Leesburg. So it's pretty commonplace. Most of the cities help out. I think it gets mixed a little bit when we talk about all these different planning things and that kind of stuff. But a big part of it that's unseen is the intergovernmental cooperation that goes on between the cities and the county already. So I think the purpose of the mayor's comment is to say, hey, we do this all the time. We're working together. There's good relationships out there on the emergency service basis and the public safety basis.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other comments on that item? Roll call.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. We'll move on to public hearings, non-routine items. Item 6A is second reading of ordinances. We have none. Item 6B, reading of first ordinances. We will read items 1, 2, and 3. If I could get somebody to introduce those.
Introduce 1, 2, and 3 to be read by title only.
6B1, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 33.45 acres, being generally located east of County Road 48 and west of Haywood Worm Farm Road, lying in sections 14 and 15, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, provided that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 3 and providing an effective date. 6B2, an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use designation of certain property containing 33.45 plus minus acres from Lake County Regional Office to City of Leesburg Industrial for a mixed-use development on property generally located south of County Road 48 and west of Haywood Worm Farm Road, as legally described in Section 15, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date. 6B3, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 33.45 acres from Lake County A agricultural to City of Leesburg PUD planned unit development to allow for a mixed-use development for property generally located south of County Road 48 and west of Haywood Worm Farm Road, as legally described in Section 15, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Andy.
Yes, sir.
This item we'll lay over. Dan, do you want to get, does anybody have any questions for? One comment from me, I would like to compliment Sundance on listening. That should remain in a little industrial.
This is their third time around.
Yeah.
It's a charm.
First time is good. Any?
I just want to chime in as well, because Jimmy and I have been through, or Mayor Burry and I have been through quite a few discussions on this, but I do want to compliment the developer on this. I think what they're doing now is a great fit compared to residential use in this area. Thank you very much.
All righty. Any other comments? Any public comment on the Sundance development? All right, this will lay over until the second, let's see, May the 8th. Is that what?
Yes, sir.
That's what we got for this? Okay. Okay.
Pardon? Mr. Dwight Sadoff and I had a conversation. It does need to go to May 22nd. He is going to be out of the country.
No problem with that.
Thank you.
May 22nd. Okay, so the second reading will be May 22nd. Thank you. All right. If someone would now please introduce item 6B4 and 5.
Introduce and ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance amend 6B4, an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 8.03 plus minus acres from medium density residential to high density residential for a multifamily development on property generally located south of Park Holland Road and east of Pixiola Road as legally described in Section 15, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date. 6B5, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 8.03 acres from PUD, Planned Unit Development, and C3, General Commercial, to SPUD, Small Planned Unit Development, for property generally located south of Park Holland Road and east of Pixiola Road as legally described in Section 15, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Andy.
Yes, sir.
This is the first reading. We'll just discuss both items. I did have a question myself, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Currently, the PUD that exists on it is for
It's PUD, I believe it's number 0797. It's 06 or 0797. And it allowed, I believe it was 18 units per acre on a smaller amount of land. So this one is requesting the same density on a larger piece of land. They added some land to the south there on the, where it says subject property on the left, the bottom left.
So my real question to you was the original PUD, the exit was onto Pixiola?
I believe that's correct.
And was it a right turn only, or is that just on this PUD?
I think it's just on this one, Mr. Mayor. I don't remember, to be honest. I will go back and research that for you. On this particular PUD, what we did want to request is to have an exit coming out to the north.
Absolutely.
Coming on Park Hill Road. The current developer of this site plus the developer of the James Landing site to the north are working together. Candy had a map made that put the James Landing proposal together with this proposal, the PMF proposal, and those lines almost perfectly lined up. So we do feel like they can make something happen. Without that, staff would not have been able to support the proposal.
Okay, so moving on to a second reading on this, staff would not be able to support an exit onto Pixiola with just a right-way turn?
Well, staff
without
believes,
having the Park Holland
correct,
exit also?
Correct. Lake County came back with a right turn only, which staff believes is the correct request, but we also believe that an exit up here would allow appropriate passage for the vehicles.
So just from my position,
Yes,
I'd support the PUD as long as we get that.
And that's staff's position as well, yes, sir.
Excellent. Excellent. Any other questions? This will lay over until April 24th. Will be the second reading on that item. All right, moving on to non-routine items. Would someone please introduce 6C1?
Introduce 6C1 to be read by title only.
6C1, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Lake County, Florida. 1, providing for authority. 2, providing for the incorporation of certain findings, defined terms, and general provisions. 3, approving and authorizing the execution of an all requirements Project Solar 3 energy participation agreement between Florida Municipal Power Agency, All Requirements Power Supply Project, and the City of Leesburg for an additional Phase 3 solar rate commitment, providing for the making of payments pursuant to such All Requirements Project Solar Energy Participation Agreement, and making certain covenants in conjunction with such payments. 4, requesting a number of additional megawatts of capacity and energy from the solar PPA, which will serve as the basis for the calculation of each ARP solar participants' additional Phase 3 solar rate commitment, and authorizing the authorized officer of the City of Leesburg to approve a final Phase 3 solar rate commitment. 5, authorizing the inclusion of such final Phase 3 solar rate commitment in the solar PPA between Florida Municipal Power Agency, All Requirements Power Supply Project, and the seller. 6, providing for this resolution to constitute a contract. 7, designating authorized officers of the City of Leesburg, designating authority of authorized officers and providing for further actions. 8, taking of other actions. 9, providing for severability. And 10, providing an effective date.
Thank you, Andy.
Yes, sir.
It's the first reading, so we don't need a motion for approval. Any discussion?
No, this is
the resolution.
This is
So
we're buying solar energy. So
Yes.
I can give you a quick brief on this, and I see Susan from FMPA is
Motion for approval.
Yes, sir.
For to approve it.
So we can be super brief and just stay here. Or Susan from FMPA is with us to give us more detail on this. But essentially, FMPA now for the last, I guess since I've been in Leesburg, at least 10 years, has done about 3 different solar projects, each of about 75 megawatts. When FMPA goes out and does this, remember FMPA has several different projects, Stanton 1, Stanton 2, the All Requirements Project, which we like to say is their flagship project, which we're a member of, where we buy all our power resources from. And then they have some of the bigger municipal utilities like OUC and JEA and Lakeland Electric, who go in and buy different solar blocks. Solar's deemed a reasonable energy. I think it's an energy that you want to have in your power portfolio these days, especially as we look to kind of do different things than fossil fuels and these type of things. And I don't think anybody's here to say that solar is the way of the future, but certainly right now, solar is a bridge to the future. Our portfolio in Leesburg does not have a solar mix in it. When we started phases 1 and we started phases 2 of the FMPA solar projects, it was actually a cost item for us. So what that would mean for us is back in those days we were paying like $75, $80 a megawatt, and solar was a lot more expensive then, and so it would actually kick our overall cost up a little bit. So we opted out of those projects, but we always kind of kept an eye on it. And as Solar Project 3 now has come along, kind of the world has changed. Gas has become more expensive, and so some of that $75, $80 megawatt cost all in is now at these days like $190. I think we'll probably finish off this fiscal year somewhere around the $90 megawatt. This project all in is about a 75 megawatt block. As I've said, it has different members in it. It's not all just the all requirements projects. In fact, I think there's only a few all requirements members in there, but we're one of them. We thought, our team thought, and working with the FMPA team, that this is the time to jump on board, because I think we're only talking about a 1 or 2 megawatt block at about $45 a megawatt. So what does that do to us? So how much is that going to cost us? I don't have that specific answer for you, but what I can tell you is that it's not a tremendous amount of energy, but when we put it into our overall consumption over the year, where we're projecting around $60 million for our all-in wholesale costs, this block is not going to change that appreciably, increase or decrease. And actually the initial estimates are from FMPA that in the near future, and the near future being like a 0 to 5 year band, is going to be below cost. So, but below cost means you'll never notice. It's not enough to plan for us. So with that, we felt like we should recommend this. These are all the initiating documents that lets the City of Leesburg become a project participant of the Solar 3 FMPA project. And if you approve the vote tonight, everything basically gets served over to Susan and the folks over there at FMPA. And I suspect the way Jim and the folks in finance will do this is you'll see in the budget book, the big difference will be you basically have, we've got the big giant budget book that's $200 million. There's one page in there that's the purchasing of energy and the electric fund that has basically 2 line items. One is referred to as the FMPA all requirements line. That number stays around, well, it stayed, I'm sorry, Sue, I can't help it. You'll see that number around $60 million. And then we also have a piece of St. Lucie. So we spec that out. So it's those two numbers added together. And so now in this project, probably in the next couple of years, you'll see a third line in our budget that will be ARP Phase 3 solar. So those would be our three sources of wholesale energy that will go into our mix. We certainly recommend it. We'll keep an eye on solar in the future, but at this stage, because of the price and because it's important to get some green in your portfolio, we certainly recommend that you approve the resolution.
Is there any upfront money to enter into this agreement?
No, it'll function just as our power bill. So just like the FMPA folks will bill us on a monthly basis, and when all that comes through, we'll start, we probably like 18 months out before we see something like this, or probably even more.
I'm Susan Schuman with Florida Municipal Power Agency, as Al has referred to. We expect these projects to be online at the end of 2025 and 2026. There's several different facilities that are coming online in that range. So there will be no cost until the energy actually starts flowing. So you would just pay per megawatt hour for the energy as it flows. There is no upfront cost.
And so, Commissioner, what you'll see, like I explained, when finance gets the bill from FMPA, we get a bill that has our costs for St. Lucie, and sometimes that's a credit, and then we get our cost for the All Requirements project. So what we'll get then when this starts flowing is a third line, a cost for the All Requirements or the Solar 3 project. With that, Commissioner Barry, you asked me to the location of the facilities, and when Jacob Williams was here, he gave. Do you remember where they were?
They're in north central Florida. Okay, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, if you look on this map, good point. You see the orange suns up top. Those are the new facilities. You see the suns that are kind of half yellow and half orange, those are the existing Phase 1 and Phase 2. The top ones that are all orange are the Phase 3 proposed facilities.
So up north of Gainesville and kind of around Bushnell.
Any other questions? Just as a comment, I'm happy to see us diversifying our portfolio a little bit with this. I think we learned a lot during the gas problem we had last year, and this to me is a good move. I also think nuclear down the road is also a place that we should be looking to bank some bucks. So that's all I got. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Informational reports. There were none.
We got to vote.
Oh, we got to vote on that. I forget. I thought we just did it. All right. So roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Barry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Just blowing on through it. Okay, so we have none in the informational reports. Do we have any city attorney items?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor, no report this evening. I guess I'll ask the commission. I know you have the meeting coming up after this. If you feel you need me to hang around until it's over, I'm happy to do that to help close out the meeting, but otherwise...
I don't think it's necessary.
No, I wouldn't make you stay.
All right. Thank you all. So with that, I have nothing further, and I hope you all have a good rest of the evening. All right, thank you.
City manager item?
Just two items on legislative matters. Like I said, the last meeting we talked about this a little bit. I think in all my years, this has probably been the most that I've paid attention to the state legislature. And in fact, if I got with three of you, I didn't get with all five, so you guys probably got a goofy text from me because by the time I found out. But actually, Ryan Matthews, the consultant that we hired to lobby for us on the bills, had actually asked me to come up to Tallahassee this evening to testify before, I believe it was the Commerce Committee on House Bill 1331. That got pulled from the agenda at the last second, so I'm I'm here with you all tonight, where I'd rather be, in all honesty, without facetiousness. But with that, I think that the important statement there, my conversation with Ryan was the feeling of 1331 in the House and being defeated or not even making it to a House vote. It appears to be moving that direction. The companion bill, Senate Bill 1380, actually with help from our Senator Baxley, has not even made it to the floor yet for committee reports. So that's a good news. And Mr. Matthews' feel on those two pieces of legislation were that this session they will probably not pass. There's still a couple weeks left to go, but I would definitely take it from DEFCON 1 to maybe DEFCON 2 or maybe even 3. We're not out of the woods, but it's certainly looking better. The advice is going to be, though, that this issue of the investor-owned utilities dipping into municipal electric utility, and I'm actually trying to drag it out, you guys, because the court reporter comes at 6:30. So the flavor is that this issue's not going to go away. So this summer, it will be very important for us to spend time with Representative Trunow and Representative Yukarski and getting with Senator Baxley and reminding them of it. The biggest faux pas that's being made is that state representatives who aren't, and state representatives is both sides, that's both sides, not just the House, but it's the unfamiliarity of state legislatures and investor-owned utilities, for that matter, who are just unfamiliar with the success of municipal electric utilities and the knowledge and expertise we have. And to give an examples right there, you all just passed a resolution to buy solar energy. I think it was one of the things I saw in Extreme when we had the litigation with People's Tico's Gas, is that it's just incredible how the utilities don't get the credit for how savvy we are in the business, and how good we are at keeping our prices down and controlling our prices, controlling things locally. If you're on Duke, recently, you would have seen a notice from them advising you that your bill is going to go up in April 1. FPL is going to go up in April 1 after an increase in January. Next meeting, Jim Williams and I will be giving you a presentation on the status of the power cost adjustment for us. And I think we're probably going to have a choice. If we stay where we're at, we can collect quicker and drop more and stay there, or we can take an integrated approach and kind of step down a reduction. We'll talk more about those in specifics at the next April meeting, because we really want one more month of data to come in. So all in all, 1331 and 1380 look like they will hopefully not pass this session. Also like to report to you that 1171 has officially will not be moving forward in this session. So those were the two biggest pieces. There were a couple other bills in there too that had reference with solid waste that looks like they won't be moving forward. So looks like we may have dodged. I won't say that. The session is almost over. So hopefully no last second field goals.
Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Berry?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Cottonhill?
Nothing.
Commissioner Reisman?
Just a couple things. At the next meeting, can we get an update on where we're at with the fluoride and the commissary kitchen? And then I've talked to Al about this, and he asked me to bring it up under my comments. I wanted to bring the parking downtown. I know some believe we have a shortage, but I believe we have ample parking. I wanted to bring up illegal parking. I'm downtown once or twice a day, and you have people parking the wrong way, not in parking spots, two-way streets, and you have people parking on both sides, so you can hardly get down there. I wanted to see if we could have a discussion on that, about maybe starting with warnings, enforcing legal parking, and then go from there.
Hey, just in response to your two comments, I can give you a fluoride update this evening. That's that's about 50% design complete or so. We had originally anticipated to get you the 75% design complete discussion in May. That was where we would have some costs and be able then to kind of start giving you, do you want to bid or not bid this project, as we discussed when you authorized the 80 grand expenditure for Dewberry to start the design. We've got Dewberry pretty busy, y'all, with the CUP application, with the water treatment facility expansion, this project, and then all their other work too. So they're a tick behind. Look for us to bring you a full report in June, either the 1st or 2nd June meeting, to give you a report on the design, what we found, what we're looking for, and hopefully then we'll have at least a better engineer estimate on where we're at on costs. And then that should probably look for the June time to where you guys provide the go with to finish up the design and start bidding it out, or not do it based on further research. So I can give you that. I will work further on the commissary kitchen and probably get back with the commission on the parking issue. I think the parking issue is obviously a delicate one. You know, when we enforce parking, we get complaints from business owners and residents alike that we're being too restrictive and that there's nowhere to park. When we don't enforce parking, we get the opposite comment that people make up makeshift spots and there are different things around. The greatest example, the picture that you sent me, Commissioner Reisman, of the parking on 3rd, I think that's 3rd Street, pointing to the south on the west side of the road, is definitely a troublesome spot. And those were actually 3 parking spots. As you guys know from the updates, we're putting in the blinking red lights versus the stop lights for traffic calming. Those were 3 spots that would have probably come out if we just went to a 4-way stop sign, because they block a lane, they don't give the proper sight lines, but we keep them in there because if we take them out, we get the complaints. So it's a difficult topic, and it's definitely a catch-22. I really think it's probably something you guys should discuss at budget time on how you want to address it, where we can expand parking. Flat out, I'll tell you, I don't think you want to go parking garage. We've got one of those. It's empty.
Is it utilized?
90% of the time.
Not much.
It's utilized all the time during Bike Fest.
Okay.
There's Joni in the back. So we've got a tricky issue. Parking is never one that we solve. It's always one that gets pushed down. In all honesty, without upsetting the apple cart here, I don't think that you have a parking problem. I think we have a perceived parking problem. Any place that I've gone to outside of Leesburg, Tavares, Mount Dora, Eustis, Seattle, Washington, D.C., Miami, Orlando, I've always had to park and walk. And in those metropolitan areas I rattled off, I walk a lot longer than when I park down here on Meadow to go up to Hags or Brick and Barrel or wherever. So I think it's one that with all the commissioners being new, you guys have to let staff know where you want to go. And if we go an enforcement route, I think that'll have 2 repercussions. One, because of where we're at right now, which we'll talk about more in detail at budget time, is we are losing police officers because of salary issues and recruitment issues. Folks don't want to. Folks rather go work for Chief Mara than Chief Hicks these days. I know Chief Hicks wasn't here, so I could say that out loud. But in any case, so we lose more police officers, I think, because of the circumstances these days in the job and because of the pay. And the big one that we're losing to now is OPD, Orlando Police Department. And if you follow the collective bargaining agreements just back in January or so, OPD significantly increased their pay. And so we're even seeing some of I'll say our middle seniority folks to OPD. I believe the PD's number down is to about 60, probably around 65 right now. Not counting, I think we've got one or two on some work comp issues. So and that was another reason for creating the civilian positions, is to use those for parking enforcement. So I know this was a parking enforcement question. So it becomes problematic because it's a catch-22 for this body. If you enforce it, you get complaints. If you don't enforce it, you get complaints. And then if you do enforce it, you had the added lever of the staff restraint that we have in the PD right now. So I think those are good budget questions to talk about that we really need to get some consideration. So as we move DST monies and all our stuff around, and we have priorities on where you want us to go. But I do owe you a better update on the commissary kitchen.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Mayor Burry.
Just a couple of things. This week, Wednesday, Al and I are going to be meeting with the county again, meeting with two commissioners, trying to soothe things out and get things flowing a little better between us. So we'll bring you what information comes from that at the next meeting. And that's about it for me.
Yeah. On that note, too, is the clerk reporter here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're good.
Okay, so we'll suspend the regular meeting at this point, and we'll open the closed attorney-client session. Bathroom break, 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
Yeah, thanks. I don't think.
Hold on a second. You're back on?
We're looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded? Second. We're adjourned. Thank you.